Daf Yomi, Tractate Sanhedrin, page 102b. And we were in the middle of the story of this last line of 102a, in which the Gemara relates that Rabbi Abahu was accustomed to lecture at great length about the three kings enumerated in the Mishnah who have no share in the world to come. He fell ill, and he undertook that he would not lecture about those kings. Once, and now we're on 102b with the word Pach, Hadar Kadarish. The Itpach Hadar Kadarish, Amri lo kibelet alach lo darashta bahu, Amar inu mihadru bahu, diana hadar bi. He recovered, and then he lectured on that topic again. His students said to him, "Did you not undertake that you will not lecture about them?" Rabbi Bahu said, "Did they repent? That I will reconsider and refrain from condemning them?" Okay. I wonder why he stopped then. I wonder he shouldn't have stopped. What was the point of him stopping if he was vindicating himself that they deserved to be condemned? So why did he stop when he got sick? Ravashi, okay, ashlosh malachim. Amar lemachar bach niftach bechavrin. Asa menashe itchazi le bechalmeh. Amar chavrech bechavre tavu chredlan. One day Ravashi ended his lecture just before reaching the matter of the three kings. He said to his students, tomorrow we will begin the lecture with our colleagues, the three kings, who, although they were sinners, were Torah scholars like us. Menashe, king of Judah, came and appeared to him in his dream. Menashe said to him angrily, "You called us your colleague and the colleagues of your father? How dare you characterize yourself as our equal?" Mehecha ba'it lemishrei hamotzi. Amar le lo yedana. Amar le mehecha de ba'it lemishrei hamotzi la gimirat. Yichavrech charit lan. Amar le agmere li. Bilimchar dreshna le mishmach de bepirka. Amar le mehecha Dikaren Bishula. Menashe said to him, "I will ask you, from where are you required to begin cutting a loaf of bread when reciting the blessing, who brings forth bread from the earth?" Ravashi said to him, "I do not know." Menashe said to him, "Even this, from where you are required to begin cutting a loaf of bread when reciting the blessing, who brings forth bread from the earth, you did not learn, and yet you call us your colleague?" Ravashi said to Menashe, "Teach me this halacha, and tomorrow I will lecture and cite it in your name during my public lecture delivered on the festival." Menashe said to him, "One cuts the loaf from where it crusts as a result of baking. Amar le me'achar dechakimat kulihai mai ta'ama dikapalchitu le'avod zara. Amar le ihavet hatam havet neketat bishipule glima berahat abatrai lemachar. Amar lehu l'rabanan niftach Birab Vota. Ravashi said to him, "Since you were so wise, what is the reason you engaged in idol worship?" Menashe said to him, "Had you been there at that time, you would have taken and lifted the hem of your cloak and run after me due to the fierce desire to engage in idol worship, and due to the fact that it was a common faith. The next day, Rav Ashi said to the sages as a prelude to his lecture, what we will begin with, the treatment of our teachers, those kings who were greater than us in Torah knowledge, but whose sins caused them to lose their share in the world to come. Achav, ach lishamayim, av levu lezor. Ach lishamayim nichtiv, ach letzor yinvalid. Av levu lezor, nichsiv karachim av albanim. The Gemara proceeds to discuss the second king enumerated in the Mishnah, Achav. Although he was a brother, an ach to heaven, he was a father for idol worship. He was a brother to heaven, as it is written, and a brother is born for adversity. Proverbs 17:17. And in desperate times he turned to heaven. He was a father for idolatry. This is the highest level of attachment, as it is written, as a father has compassion for his children. Psalms 103, verse 13. ויהי הנקל לכתוב בחטאו דירה בלבד, אמר רבי יוחנן קלות, שעשה אחאב כחמורות, שעשה ירבעם. מפני מה תלה כעסו ברבעם? מפני שהוא היה תחילה לכלכלה. גם יזבחו אותם כגלים על תלמי שדי. אמר רבי יוחנן, אין לך כל תלם ותלם בארץ ישראל, שלא העמיד עליו אחאב עבודה זרה והשתחווה לה. With regard to Achab, it is written, and it came to pass, the most minor of his transgressions was his walking in the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat. 1 Kings 16:31. Rabbi Yochanan says, the minor sins that Achab performed were on par with the major sins that Jeroboam performed, as the transgressions committed by Achab were much more serious than those committed by Jeroboam. And for what reason did the verse attribute the sins of all the kings of Israel to Jeroboam, even though the sins of Achab were more substantial? It is due to the fact that he was first to engage in iniquity. With regard to the verse, their altars shall also be like droppings in the furrows of the field. Hosea 12:12. Rabbi Yochanan says, you do not have even one furrow in Eretz Israel upon which Achab did not place an object by idol worship and bow down to it. Uminalan dilate yamadiate dichtiv ichlat lachav mashtin kir ויצור עזוב ישראל, עזור עזב יצור הבא. The Gemara asks, and from where do we derive that Achab does not enter the world to come? The Gemara answers, it is derived as it is written, and I will excise from Ahab every man, and him that is shut up, and him that is abandoned in Israel. 1 Kings 21:21. Him that is shut up indicates he will be excised in this world, and him that is abandoned indicates that he will be excised in the world to come. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, mipnei ma zacha omri lamalchut, mipnei sheosif krach echad beretz Yisrael, shene'emar וייקן את ההר שומרון מאת שמר בכיכריים כסף ויבן את ההר ויקרא את שם העיר אשר בנה על השם שמר Adonai ההר שומרון. Rabbi Yochanan says, for what virtue was Omri, king of Israel, who was Ahab's father, privileged to ascend to the monarchy? It is due to the fact that he had one city in Israel, as it is stated, and he bought the hill of Samaria from Shemer for 2 talents of silver, and built on the hill, and called the name of the city that he built after Shemer, the owner of the hill, Samaria. 1 Kings 16:24. Rabbi Yochanan mipnei ma zacha Achav lemalchut 22 shana. Rabbi Yochanan says, for what virtue was Ahab privileged to ascend to the monarchy and rule for 22 years? Mipnei shekibed es ha'toira shenita ב-22 moises שנאמר וישלח מלאכם אל אחאב מלך ישראל העירה. ויאמר לו, כה אמר בן הדד, כספך וזהבך לי, ונשיך ובניך טובים לי הם. כי אם כעת מחר אשלח את עבדי אליך, יחיפשו את ביתך ואת בתי עבדיך, והיה כל מחמד עיניך ישימו בידם ולקחו. ויאמר למלכי בן הדד, אמרו לאדוני המלך, כל אשר שלחת אל עבדך בראשונה, אעשה, והדבר הזה לא אוכל לעשות. It is due to the fact that he respected the Torah. That's why he merited ruling for 22 years. That's what they're saying here. Which was given with 22 letters. He respected the Torah, which was given with 22 letters, as it is stated, and he sent messengers to Ahab, the king of Israel, into the city, and said to him, so says Ben-Hadad, your silver and your gold are mine, your wives and also your good children are mine. And the king of Israel answered and said, it is according to your saying, my lord, O king, I am yours and all that I have. And the messengers came again and said, so speaks Ben-Hadad, saying, I sent to you, saying, you shall deliver me your silver and your gold, and your wives and your children. Yet I will send my servants to you tomorrow about this time, and they shall search your house, and the houses of your servants, and it shall be that they shall put in their hand all the delight of your eyes, and take it. And he said to the messengers of Ben-Hadad, tell my lord the king all that you did send for to your servant. At the first I will do, but this thing I may not do. 1 Kings 20, verse 2 to 6 and verse 9. My machmalinecha lav sefer Torah. The Gemara asks, what is the delight of your eyes that Ahab refused to give Ben-Hadad after agreeing to give him his wives and his gold? Is it not a Torah scroll? Ahab treated the Torah with deference. Wow, it's a big daf. Huge. Okay. Let us continue. Dilma by the Zohar, so kedai techtivia, lo elav kol ezekini mecholom. Lo esoy v'lo esishma, v'dilma soive debaha sa havo, milo kativ, v'yishar levar b'nei Avshalom, u'b'nei kol ziknei Yisrael, v'yamar Rabbi Yosef, sabe debahata. The Gemara suggests perhaps the delight of his eyes was an object of idol worship. The Gemara answers, that could not enter your mind, as it is written that Ahab consulted the sages with regard to this matter. And all the elders and all the people said to him, do not consent and heed not. 1 Kings 20, verse 8. The elders in this verse are presumably the sages. The Gemara continues, but perhaps they were wicked elders who worshipped idols. Isn't it written, and the saying pleased Absalom well, and all the elders of Israel? 2 Samuel 17:4. And Rabbi Yosef says the elders of Israel mentioned in that verse were wicked elders. Perhaps the elders of Israel with whom Achav consulted were also wicked. Okay? Hasam lo kativ b'chol ha'am, ma kativ b'chol ha'am. Di efshel lo havo b'hon tzedikei, u'chetiv v'hish'arti b'Yisrael shivat alafim, כל הברכיים אשר לא קראו לבעל, לכל פה אשר לא נשק לו. The Gemara rejects this there with regard to Absalom. It is not written, and all the people, whereas here, with regard to Ahab, it is written, and all the people. And it is impossible that there were not among them righteous people. If the righteous people agreed, apparently the delight of your eyes was sacred. As it is written, and I will leave 7,000 in Israel, all the knees that have not bent to the Baal, and every mouth that has not kissed it. 1 Kings 19:18, indicating that there were righteous people among them. Okay. אמר רב נחמן אחאב שקול היה, שנאמר יאמר השם מי יפתה את אחאב, והיה פה ברמות גילה ויאמר זה בחור וזה אומן בחור, מה תקיף לרב יוסף, מה דכתיב ב, רק לא היה כאחיו אשר התמכה לעשות הרע בעיני השם, אשר הסתה אותו עזר אשתו, ותנן בכל יום היה שוקל לשקלי זהב, לעבוד זורי, ויאב ממש שקול היה, אלא אחר פטרן במעונו היה, מתוך שאין תמיד חכמים מנכסיו, קיבלו לו מחצה. Rav Nachman says that Ahab was balanced in terms of the mitzvot and transgressions that he performed, as it is stated. And the Lord said, who shall entice Ahab that he may ascend and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And this one said in this manner, and that one said in that manner, 1 Kings 22:20, indicating that it is unclear whether or not he was a full-fledged transgressor. Rav Yosef objects to this statement. This is the person about whom the prophet wrote, but there was none like Ahab, who devoted himself to do evil in the eyes of the Lord, whom Jezebel, his wife, had enticed, 1 Kings 21:25. And we learn in a bride every day she would weigh gold shekels equal to Ahab's weight for idol worship. And you say he was balanced? Rather, Ahab was generous with his money and did not scrimp, since he also benefited Torah scholars with his property. And the heavenly court expiated half his sins for him. The result was a balance between mitzvot and transgressions. Okay. ויצא הרוח ויעמוד לפני השם ויאמר אני אפתנו ויאמר השם אליו במה ויאמר אצא והייתי רוח שקר בפי כל נביאה ויאמר תפתה וגם תוכל צא ועשה כן. My Ruach, Amr Yochanan, Rucho shel Navot HaYisraeli. With regard to God's search for a volunteer to entice Ahab, it is written, "And there came forth a spirit and stood before the Lord and said, I will entice him. And the Lord said to him, with what? And he said, I will go out, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of the prophets, of his prophets. And he said, you shall entice him and also prevail. Go out and do so. And there came forth a spirit and stood before the Lord and said, I will entice him. And the Lord said to him, with what? And he said, I will go out and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of his prophets. And he said, you shall entice him and also prevail. Go out and do so. It's 1 Kings 22:21-22. The Gemara asks, what spirit was that? Rabbi Yochanan says it was the spirit of Naboth, the Jezreelite, who sought to take revenge against Ahab. Naboth HaYisraeli. Might say, Amar Rabbeinu, say, ממחיצתי, שכן כתיב דבר שקוראים לא ייכון לנגד עיני, אמר פאפו, היינו דאמרי אינשי דפר קינא מחרה בזה. The Gemara asks, what is the meaning of the term go out that God instructed the Spirit? Ravina says that it means go out from within my partition and do not return, as so it is written, he that speaks falsehoods shall not be established before my eyes. Psalms 101 verse 7. The spirit that volunteered to lie may no longer be before God. Rav Papa says that this is in accordance with the adage that people say, one who avenges due to his zealotry destroys his own house. The spirit, not boat, that sought revenge is expelled from before God. ויצח בסשרו, ויוסף אחאב לעשות לכיסס השם אלוהי ישראל, מכל מלכי ישראל אשר היו לפניו. אמר יוחנן שכזב לעשות שמעון אחאב כפר אלוהי ישראל, לפיכך אינו חלק באלוהי ישראל. With regards to the verse that Ahab made the Asherah, and Ahab did more to provoke the Lord, God of Israel, to anger than all of the kings of Israel that were before him. 1 Kings 16:33. Rabbi Yochanan says it means that he wrote on the doors of Samaria, Ahab denies the existence of the God of Israel. Therefore, he has no share in the God of Israel. Wow. Big mistake. ויבקש את אחזיהו, וילגדו והוא מתחבא בשומרון. אמר רבי לוי, שהיה קודר אזכרוס, וכותב עבודה זרה תחתיהם. With regard to the verse, and he sought Ahaziah, and they apprehended him, for he was hiding in Samaria. 2 Chronicles 22:9. Rabbi Levi says, what would he do in hiding? He would excise mentions of God's name in Torah scrolls and write the name of an object of idol worship in their stead. Oof. Menashe Shinashaya. Tarach Menashe Shihinishi Es Yisrael Avinu Shebashamayim, U'ino La'on De'lo Yasi Le'al Ve'lo Osi. Dichsiv ben 12 שנה מנשה במלכו, ו55 שנה מלך בירושלים. ויעש אשרה כאשר עשה אחאב מלך ישראל. מה אחאב? אינו חלק לא ילמה בו, אף מנשה אינו חלק לא ילמה בו. The Gemara proceeds to discuss the third king enumerated in the Mishnah. He was called Menashe because he forgot God. Alternatively, he was called Menashe since he was the king of Israel to forget their father who was in heaven. And from where do we derive that Menashe does not enter the world to come? The Gemara answers it is derived, as it is written, Menashe was 12 years old, he began to reign, and he reigned 55 years in Jerusalem. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, and he made Asherah, as did Ahab king of Israel, 2 Kings 21, verse 1 through 3. Just as Ahab had no share in the world to come, so too Menashe has no share in the world to come. Rav Yehuda omer Menashe, yesh lo chelek lo haba, shenemar, ויתפלל מנשה לשם ויתר לו. רבי יוחנן ושניהם מקרא אחד דרשו שנאמר ונתתים לזהבה לכל ממלכות הארץ בגלל מנשה בן יחזקיהו. מר סבר בגלל מנשה שעשה תשובה ואינו לא עבוד. מר סבר, the Mishnah teaches that Rabbi Yehuda says Menashe has a share in the world to come, as it is stated, and he prayed to him, and he was entreated of him, and he heard his supplication, and brought him back to Jerusalem, unto his kingdom. 2 Chronicles 33:13. Rabbi Yochanan says, and both of them, Rabbi Yehuda and the rabbis, who disagree with regard to whether Menashe has a share in the world to come, interpreted one in the same verse as it is stated, and I will make them into a horror for all the kingdoms of the earth on account of Menashe, son of Chizkiah. Jeremiah 15:4. One sage of Yehuda holds that on account of Menashe means that the Jewish people will be judged harshly, as ultimately one as wicked as Menashe repented, and they did not do so. And one sage, Rabbi, holds that